Is it a housing block? A factory? A bunker from the Cold War era? The House of Soviets has been part of Kaliningrad's urban landscape for over 50 years. It was 20 years in the making, then it stood empty for another 30 years, and now this peculiar landmark is set to be torn down. Apparently, the materials and structure aren't good enough to keep, and a complete renovation would be far too costly.
It would take about a year to renovate each floor, and there are 21 floors. So it would take about 21 years to renovate the whole building.
The building was supposed to be the central administration building for the regional Communist Party, but nobody ever moved in. First, there were structural issues and funds ran out. Then chaos ensued as the Soviet Union collapsed. More recently, the building has changed ownership a few times, while slowly falling into disrepair. The street artist Show and Show is one of the few who actually uses the building, though not quite legally, which is why he won't give us his real name. He and other artists have been turning the concrete surfaces into works of art.
We painted and photographed the inside and the roof at sunset. The atmosphere of a huge abandoned building in the middle of Kaliningrad is very unusual. Not very typical.
The entire history of Kaliningrad is not very typical for a Russian city either. Once a German city, it went by the name of Königsberg. It was part of East Prussia that went to the Soviet Union after the Second World War. As the times and inhabitants changed, so did the architecture. The city was looking for a new Soviet identity. The House of Soviets was built on the spot where the Königsberg Castle once stood. But the attempt to crush a symbol of an old era and create a new identity failed. The new building remained a husk.
My relationship with the House of Soviets is the same as my relationship with all the other buildings around. After the war, collective farmers were brought in from the villages and put in these blocks. They needed a roof over their heads, and people got used to them. But they're hardly what you'd call beautiful. It was nice when the city was German. There's nothing left of that today.
An architecture firm based in St. Petersburg has designed a new development project that nods to the German past. Their idea was to combine housing and workspaces with stores and cultural centers.
We wanted to create a space for citizens to meet.
But critics say the design is arbitrary and faceless, and completely removed from any historical context.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just ended up building a shopping center. Money makes the world go round.
If it were up to Show and Show, the building would stay put and continue to allow artists to experiment.
My idea was to paint the whole building, the entire facade. But that won't work. It would cost a huge amount of money. But it would be such a cool piece of art.
The House of Soviets is set to be demolished within a year, about the same amount of time it took for the Soviet Union to collapse. And then, who knows what the future holds?